Whenever it comes to car sharing, there's no shortage of competitors that platforms like Turo have to compete with. There are direct competitors like GetAround, HireCar, Avail. There's also direct but different competitors like traditional rental car agencies like Avis, Hertz, and Enterprise. And then we also have indirect competitors like Uber, Lyft, public transportation. The list goes on and on. Not to mention the fact that cars themselves are competitors. Dealerships in a way are also competitors. There are a lot of different solutions out there for travel, and whenever we look at travel solutions, most of these are in some way, shape, or form a Turo competitor. But one competitor that has recently announced a pretty significant shift in its business model that could either hurt or potentially help Turo is the app Uber. Now, Uber, of course, is known for their taxi-like services, and I'm willing to bet that most of you watching this video, if not all of you watching this video, at some point in time have ordered and been inside of an Uber vehicle. But it looks as though Uber does not want to be just simply a taxi cab alternative any longer, and they have their sights on being a one-stop shop or a super app for all things travel and transportation. Last week, Uber announced that they would be adding trains, buses, planes, bikes, and even car rentals to their UK app. This is to test out the viability of this expansion within the Uber app, and depending on how successful this is in the UK will dictate whether or not it's expanded to other parts of the world. Now, this would operate a little bit differently than how Uber currently operates. You see, if you currently order an Uber vehicle and you get into the car, you are in the car of an Uber employee. They aren't a W-2 salaried employee, but they're a contract worker through a 1099. These are cars that have to go through the Uber validation process. The driver has to meet Uber requirements, and Uber really sets the tone of how these vehicles operate and how these vehicles are paid. But whenever we look at these other transportation solutions that Uber's wanting to get into, like trains, planes, bikes, rental cars, you wouldn't actually be driving in an Uber train or flying in an Uber plane. Though, let's be honest, it would be pretty cool if you could book an on-demand flight and an Uber plane whenever you needed it. But I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. Instead, what you would do is you would simply book your train ticket, your plane ticket, or your rental car through the Uber app rather than having to navigate to a different app in order to make these accommodations. So instead of having to book your car from your house to the airport through Uber, then your flight through the American Airlines app, and then your rental car through Turo or Avis or Enterprise, you can instead do all of this under one app umbrella. Think of it very similar to like an Expedia or a Kayak, where you can book multiple types of accommodations under one website, whether it be a hotel and a rental car, a plane ticket, whatever the case is. Uber is really wanting to do that exact same type of thing, but with everything transportation. Now, this shift that Uber is looking to take isn't surprising in the slightest. In fact, they've been kind of making this shift towards this one-size-fits-all super app for quite a while now. In fact, very recently, Uber announced that they would be partnering with New York Yellow Cabs in a way in which you could book a yellow cab through Uber directly, which is really interesting from the perspective of the yellow cab companies, because it really is like, if you can't beat them, join them type of thing. They couldn't beat Uber, so now they're going to be joining Uber. And so this is definitely one step forward into Uber's quest of really being a one-size-fits-all, one-stop shop for all things transportation. And this step in the UK of being able to book things like bikes, buses, trains, planes, rental cars, it definitely isn't a surprising, and it's a pretty natural shift. Now, at this point in the video, you may be asking yourself, what the heck does this have to do with Turo, and what does this have to do with me as either a current Turo host or an aspiring Turo host? And to be honest, I think that it could mean a couple of different things. Now, first and foremost, it is important to note that this is in the very early phase of the process. This entire idea of creating a super app has just been announced, let alone implemented. And whenever it is implemented, it's just going to be implemented in the UK. It's very common for companies to test things in different markets and then they never ever make it to mainstream markets around the world. For example, in certain parts of the country, you can book an Uber scooter where you like ride on the back of a moped. You can also book an Uber helicopter, and there are a lot of creative travel solutions that may be offered in different parts of the country but may not be offered in other parts. So just because this is something that's being tested in the UK doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to come here in the United States. But if I was willing to bet, I would probably bet that it will at some point in time come to the US. The real question is going to be when. Now, regardless of if and when we end up getting this Uber super app here in the United States or different parts of the world for my international viewers, I think that regardless, this isn't going to be a really negative thing for Turo. I don't see it being really bad that Uber is looking to create this super app, though I do think that it could in some ways create additional competition, but it won't be like a make or break thing for Turo hosts. Where I think that this could be a particularly good thing is if Uber was to partner with Turo in this super app venture. Uber has announced that they want to involve rental cars in their booking app. And so if they were to partner with Turo and show Turo listings within the Uber app, that would be absolutely huge because it would allow for people to easily book a Turo car. It would bring Turo to the mainstream media. It would bring Turo to people that may not have heard of it before, and it would just make it so much more convenient. And to be honest, the idea of Uber featuring Turo in their super app isn't something that I think is super far-fetched. The reality is Uber is one of the founding fathers of peer-to-peer sharing, of course, along with Airbnb. And so it makes sense that they would choose a platform, a company with a similar ideology to promote within the Uber app. Of course, that's in a perfect world, and I think that realistically, whenever it comes to what companies Uber will be partnering with, it will really come down to money and which companies they can negotiate with so that Uber can get a hefty cut, the rental car company will get a hefty cut, and everybody can walk away making money. So whether or not Turo will want to come to the table and negotiate that, well, I guess only time will tell. Now, I have not been able to find anywhere online that this is something that Turo is exploring. They definitely have not made any public announcements about this, and neither has Uber. Like I've said throughout this video, this is all in the very early stages of things. But in my opinion, I think that this is definitely something that I hope Turo has on their radar. And to be honest, I think they should have it on its radar. I would say Turo's two biggest issues, at least from a host perspective, is number one, brand awareness. A lot of people don't know what Turo is, and though they're definitely overcoming this slowly but surely, it's still a pretty big issue. And number two is the fact that some renters are worried about using Turo because they don't want to be scammed and they don't want their money stolen by some bad host. I feel like a lot of times renters think that the host has a lot of control of the funds and the actual transaction that takes place within the Turo app, which isn't the case. It's all controlled by Turo. But by adding some validity behind the Turo platform, by having it listed on a larger platform like Uber, I think that it would add the validity and the credibility that Turo really needs to make it to mainstream rental car status. Though, of course, Turo is technically not a rental car, but you guys know what I mean. If Turo and Uber were to partner with something like this, it would increase utilization across the board. It would be an incredible marketing tool, and it would also increase brand awareness to a degree that we've never seen before. Now, like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave you some valuable and interesting insight into some of the shifts that are going on in the travel industry. Though I wouldn't consider Uber to be a direct competitor as of today, I definitely think that Uber could be an incredible tool to help Turo get to the next level, to the point where everybody in the United States knows of the Turo brand and the Turo name, just like we all know of Uber. Like always, if you guys have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.